Hey all, Board Game Rants here where you'll find everything solo, tabletop gaming, and more. Mistfall, Heart of the Mists. Playing it solo, I'm going to show you a little bit about the game and we'll talk about what I'm thinking about on the other side. So in Mistfall, Heart of the Mists, we're going to be going on a little bit of an adventure here. And that's going to be comprised of, you can play just one character if you want, but I have it set up here, we'll be playing two characters. And two characters, actually, you've got a player board here, you've got the player deck, some starting equipment, and one or two allies. This particular character can have up to two. So it's got two allies here. And then on the other side is my other character with just one ally. Some of these synergize pretty darn well. So the other part of the game is going to be up here, where we're going to have a couple boards here monitoring certain tracks, a time track here, a reinforcement track, and a darkness track. So this is kind of, well, if you run out of time before you've won the game, you lose. Well, I guess that makes sense, doesn't it? How do you win the game? You got to get all the way over here. We've got sort of the map. This is what we'll be adventuring. We're starting here. Here's our little adventure group. Starting here at the Hammer Home Inn. And then these are hidden tiles as we explore. We'll flip those over. And then these are little quest tokens. That depends on the type of quest you're running. Those operate differently. Even the setup can be different depending on the quest you're going on. And this is our ending spot, the Tower of Treachery, where we will take on the Keeper at the scenario will be Hope's End. That is a particular scenario found over here in the quest guide, and here it goes over how to set up each quest. And there's 5 different ones, I believe, that come with this game. You can play them in order, you can play them as one-offs. There's no real persistent effect that carries over from one quest to the next, but if you want to sort of follow the storyline, you can. Back up here again, these tracks will be measuring certain things. Oh, there should be 4 little tokens on here, because as these tokens get pulled off, this track's going to go up, meaning time's going to move faster, and just the momentum of the game gets faster. That's a bad thing. You want it to stay slow, so you have time to adventure and sort of level up your characters. And then here, these enemy decks. There's a green enemy deck, red, and blue, I guess, is what that color is. And they sort of represent a theme of enemy. Depending on what type of scenario you end up drawing, when you're adventuring, you're going to draw a random scenario, and it's going to tell you what to set up, basically what deck to set up from, and then it'll have certain things you have to complete. A lot of times it's just wiping out all the enemies to be able to move on. And so the characters are played. When I was saying level up, you don't really level up so much as you'll gain these resolve tokens, which is sort of like your money. And actually the game starts off in a pool. You get 1 resolve, 1 money, whatever you want to call it, and the both of your characters will use. And as you take out those bad guys up there, you'll learn more. So they could be, experience points, resolve tokens, money, whatever you want to call it. Experience tokens. And then with those, you'll be able to come up here and a lot of times purchase cards. Like this takes 1 resolve token or experience point. Down here, these you can get all the way down to where it costs you 4 to get some of the real good stuff for your character. And then also too, as you complete scenarios, you're going to have access to be able to buy certain reward gear. There's going to be gear that comes out after you successfully complete a scenario that'll have, depending on the players you've got, you're going to have a certain ones that are already be exposed that you'll be able to pick from there as you complete a scenario. That'll be part of your reward there as well. And so Aseke, the namekeeper, if I'm saying that right, has her own sort of deck that she gets to level up from. This is all her stuff. You can see on her pictures there, it all has a little symbol there. And then the same over here for Valkia, the Myrmidon. She's got her own stack of stuff as well that she uses to level up. When you level up, you basically add it to your hand. And your hand in this game or cards, I should say, sort of, again, acts sort of like your health. So maybe Gloomhaven-esque, where when you run out of cards, that's your health that you're basically going to be running out of, and you can lose the game that way. And there's ways that here too, you'll have a discard pile here, or here I should say. Here's the deck. It has a little symbol, deck here, discard here, buried pile here. When you really take damage, you put it in your buried pile. And then there's ways to heal, quote unquote heal, and bring cards from buried to discard, or from your discard to back into your deck. So that's how you kind of heal. These allies can take damage. They heal a little bit differently. There's no deck associated with them. But as you go through, you're going to be essentially moving and fighting. And then, depending on if you successfully accomplish that scenario and the enemies there, then you'll move on. And then you'll move on. And then you'll move on. And it's sort of a move and encounter situation. And these tracks over here are going to keep track of a lot of different things. There's a track on here. This is a enemy focus track. And a lot of times this is going to, as this moves up, you will be paying for your use of cards, essentially by looking and finding out these little focus, that little arrow 2, and then that little circle-y thing with a human or something looking in the middle of it, tells me that in order to take this regular action, I have to increase my focus by 2. So I'd have to take this little cube here, move it up 2 spaces. And as you move it up, that generally just has a bad effect. You take stronger actions which require more focus, or more actions which require more and more focus to be used, you're going to draw reinforcement track is going to go up. So round after round, you'll have to, more reinforcements will be coming, more enemies. Eventually, you get to this enraged spot. So if you have any enemies in front of you, you're going to have to, they get really ticked off and get a little special action. If you go so far, you'll go here, and then you'll have to go kind of reset and work your way back up. Every time you hit that, it increases the time charter here. And as it goes up, then per round, this time track moves based on where this is at. So this could move either 1 space at the end of each sort of round, or 2 spaces, or 3 spaces. And so you want that to keep calm, because as it goes, it enrages creatures. That's that symbol. Certain things, depending on the quest you're playing, will trigger when you hit these 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spots. It'll increase the time tracker as you march down. Of course, at the very, if you hit there and you haven't completed the game, you lose. So, all sorts of tracks to keep track of. And again, the general principle here is you will be paying for the cards in your hand. You'll always have, you'll typically have a deck of, or a hand of 5 cards there you'll be playing with. And all of these have all sorts of abilities. And sometimes they put markers on your cards that help power up your cards. Sometimes they allow you to defend, so you don't take so much damage, or defend your allies even. And other times they, of course, one of the biggest things they allow you to do is to attack. And there's really only 2 types of attack in this game, which are physical damage or magic damage, in the form of using a sword, or you've got axes, hammers, and you've got traps you can set up depending on the character that you're playing. But that is it in a little bit of a nutshell. You've got this quest guide, which will help you again with your setting up each individual quest, and you've got a handy dandy player aid here, front and back, which can keep you a lot to keep track of in this game. Lots of, move this, well then if you move that, then it affects that. You got to remember to remove that token over there, and then remember if that affects that, then that affects that, and then you got to keep track of too all these little. You'll have a scenario card out. You might have a particular location that you're on that'll have instructions that you have to keep track of while you're doing your encounter, and then each character has its own little set of stuff that it can do, and then depending on the kind of creatures that come out, they have their own little abilities there. This guy, for instance, is going to attack with, when he gets to attack, it's going to be 4 physical damage, has 0 physical shield and 0 magic shield. So this guy, easy to attack, has 3 health, but hits pretty darn hard there. We got maybe this one here, this Tormented Skeleton, attacks for 2, has a shield of 1 against physical attack, shield of 1 against magic attack. And then they also have little keywords here, little weaknesses. So if you attack with something that has frost as a keyword, it's gonna work better against this guy. If you have something that has blunt or flame in its keyword, so for instance down here, if I were to look, if I attacked with a long spear, that skeleton, it doesn't have blunt or flame in its wordage there. And so it might be better to have someone like this, like Adrian here, attack, because it has the blunt keyword. And if that attacked that skeleton, have a little bit more effect. Gets right through, sort of like piercing damage, if you will. These little weaknesses. So you got to pay attention to your keywords. And anything else here? Well, there's all sorts of stuff, but hopefully that gives you a good idea, the rundown of what you might be looking at trying to play a game of Mistfall, Heart of the Mists. So thematically, this game is got a cool storyline to it. If you're just into the lore, there's plenty of there to get into, especially if you go on Board Game Geek. There's in the file section, you'll find 2 like manuscripts, one on, and I find this very cool about this game, one on player, the characters, and there's 6 different characters you can play here, and it just outlines everything about those characters, how to play them, what they're best at, what they're weak at. There's like 50-60 pages long, and then there's a lot of story there too tied in with it. So I'd highly recommend, if you pick up this game, go and check those out, download them, go through them. It really adds to the game, and the love that went into, that must have gone into, just create these additional huge, like I said, they're like manuscripts. They're just big 50-60 page documents. And there's another whole one on the scenarios, on playing through the game, and I didn't read too much on that, but it's just as big. But there's a lot to get into if you like the theme of it, but while you're playing the game, I can't say that the theme really comes through. While you're playing the game, it's just sort of, there's not a whole lot of adventure there, I would say. There's just sort of, you move from one location to the other and you fight a bunch of bad guys. And you rinse and repeat. And you do that again and again and again. And it's just basically what the game consists of. There's not a grand sense of adventure there, or really any story to get into while you're playing the game. When you're outside of the game, you can read up on the characters, and it's kind of cool that way. So for an adventure game, it's very light on theme too, because you're looking at the mechanics are such that they're just not that appealing. It's not that fun for me to get into. When you look at that, and I kind of alluded there at the end, there's so much to keep track of, and it's all kind of this symbology, and there's a lot, and it's sort of remembering how things are. You're going to make mistakes playing this game. You're just going to. I mean, you have to resign yourself to that fact. There's too much from a solo standpoint, especially if you're going to play 2 characters. And you can play one. I think I tried that once, and I didn't really care for it. You know, there's other games out there like Too Many Bones that I just so much more enjoy playing just one character. And really, I mean, Too Many Bones is Too Many Bones. Everybody, you watch my channel, you know how I feel about that game. But this seems like it was really designed to play at least with 2 characters, like Gloomhaven or whatever. And it has sort of that health mechanic, but I believe this, at least the first Heart of the Mist, or not first Heart of the Mist, first Mistfall came out pre-Gloomhaven, I think. So maybe it was one of the first games that had sort of your deck as your health mechanic in there. But going back to just, it's sort of like, I've likened it to The Matrix. You know, if you've ever watched that movie, and there's this part where, you know, the guy's looking at the screen, and it's just symbols and all this, it's just mumble jumble, but he can see that there's a woman with a red dress in the city or something like that. And it takes a few games to get anywhere close to that here with this. And I played through all of the scenarios. I played through the campaign thing. And near the end, did it really kind of start sitting with me, and where I was just reading stuff, and it didn't seem so mumble jumbly, and move this marker up, but only if you've used this power up to power this up, which then you gotta, if you don't have to record all the focus that you used until the end, so then stuff will trigger, but maybe things are dead by then, and it just, the visual on this game is not appealing to me. The color scheme, I wish there were more little bits to keep track of stuff. Like, oh, okay, well, this doesn't have shields now. It'd be nice to just have a little token or something to remind me of that. Or there's certain buffs that occur, and there weren't a lot of tokens with this to keep track of all these to help you out. I wish there were. And then there was effects like fire and poison, and they basically did the same thing. And I don't know that I ever really encountered like any great differences there. There should be. Anyway, so the mechanics. One thing that I did like about the game is how synergistic some of the characters were, and well, yeah, there was a lot to be said. There was certain things about the mechanics that I did enjoy, and that is how things were linked and did all affect each other. But it's almost like I just didn't have fun keeping track of it, just the way it was packaged. So the variability on this game I don't think is very high. You kind of play through the scenarios and then you're done, and they're all one-offs, but it's just the creatures that come out each time you go to a location, you draw the scenario card. Well, it just basically has one color of creatures that come at you, and so it's going to be the red creatures or the blue creatures or the green creatures, and some are mostly undead. Some are kind of have this ranged feature, and there is a range thing. If you look closer there, you saw numbers 1 or 2, so there's sort of a range thing. There's no line of sight to worry about, but there's kind of this ranged mechanic, which I found kind of cool. But another thing to try and keep track of that was just another number or symbol that just kind of looked blah. Anyway, so the variability, I feel like I may have be putting this game away, and then I'm sort of done. And I had enough. It was great while it lasted, but there isn't a lot of new creatures here. Maybe if you were to get the original Mistfall and incorporate it all together, now there you might have some pretty cool variability. But the scenario deck was fairly chintzy as far as the amount of cards there. You'll go through them and see them all pretty quickly. And yeah, anyway, moving on. Length of play. The length of play is kind of too long for my taste. It really, maybe as I got even into the 4th and 5th game there, it's a good couple hours long, this game, because there's so much to keep track of and to process that it just takes time. And so I don't know, I think it says like a half hour per player. Well, yeah, it's nowhere near that, not for me anyway. It's a long game while you're playing it. Maybe if you don't make it all the way to the end, but I don't know. I always kind of made it to the end, the last scenario, and the big boss, and won some, lost some, but always kind of got there. And so little long. The rule book is there's a lot of issues with the rule book. It was just didn't cover like all this. There was a lot of nuances and stuff that would have been, but well, yeah, the rule book I thought was lacking, but when you go and you find the player aid and the quest guide kind of thing, if you go there, it goes over everything, and it shows you where some of the errata is. You might have seen actually on a card, I had to kind of cross out a thing and add whatever. It was, instead of a fast action, it was a reflex or whatever. And there's other cards where, it says, oh, the keyword on here shouldn't have been bladed, it's blunt, and, and stuff. And while you're playing, you're looking at it, you're kind of like, why is this keyword on here? That doesn't make sense. And then you find out that there was some, the FAQ covers some of that stuff, but for a second production, for a standalone expansion, I'm a little bit merciless on just these kinks should be worked out, and maybe the game would have done better if some of these kinks had been worked out, which I can only assume were worse in the first. Maybe but probably worse in the first edition or the Mistfall original game. Anyway. So already a lot to keep track of, and then you find out, oh crap, this keyword should have been on there, or this was in fact a reflex instead of a fast action. Yeah. So, but if you go and you download those huge manuscripts, then it goes over all that and it tells you, and then so that was cool. That was nice to find, and I could make some official changes on there. Solo parameters, it's just yeah, you pretty much have to play 2 characters to really get a sense of the synergies there, which are pretty cool, and it's fun. You can pull off some pretty wicked combos, and you feel pretty cool about it, but yeah, it's also kind of dry, all in all, the experience there. And there's really no scoring. You just sort of win or lose the scenario. You can, win or lose. I think basically lose 2 different ways. You run out of time on your time track, or you don't kill the big boss guy at the end, or you run out of your health, your cards. I don't know that it ever happened to me that I ever ran out of well, no, that's not true. Of course, you could see, sometimes you can see the writing on the wall, and you're just like, I'm not gonna play that final round, because I just know I'm not going to get enough hits on there. So anyway, it didn't lend itself to me wanting to play some of these games through to the end, because I could just already get a sense of, why spend the extra 20 minutes to lose when I know I'm going to lose, or whatever. So the value was off the charts for this game, by the way. I was able to pick it up for like $20. So do I think I got my money's worth for that? Do I think it was worth it for that? Absolutely. Anybody who plays solo and is into fantasy adventure stuff, you may like some of these things, sort of that tediousness and looking at all those symbols and stuff, and it may just click with you, but it just doesn't click with my style. It didn't have the vibrancy that I'm used to when I'm playing a fantasy adventure game. So for me, I'm glad I played it, and for $20 it was so worth it. But any more than that, probably not so much. But that was Mistfall, Heart of the Mists solo perspective review. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I'm Board Game Rants, and I'm out.